Throughout over a century of Australian political history, voters have typically granted first-term federal governments considerable leniency, even when faced with mistakes or challenges. In fact, in the past 100 years, only one first-term government has been ousted, the Labor government led by James Scullin in 1931. However, recent developments suggest the Albanese government may face a rare and significant challenge, as current polling indicates a dead heat between Labor and the coalition, with betting odds increasingly favouring Peter Dutton's opposition. When James Scullin's Labor government was defeated in 1931, the circumstances were extraordinary. His administration had taken office just 2 days before the Wall Street crash of 1929, which marked the onset of the Great Depression. Facing soaring unemployment, eventually reaching nearly 20%, and the worst economic conditions since the 1890s, the Scullin government struggled to maintain its position. While they had won a record number of lower house seats in the 1929 election, their representation collapsed from 46 seats to just 16 in the subsequent election. Despite this devastating defeat, Scullin himself was widely viewed as a victim of circumstances beyond his control. He remained leader of the Labor Party for some time after the loss, and later analysis credited him with laying the groundwork for Australia's recovery from the Depression. Fast forward to today, and while the challenges facing Anthony Albanese's government are different from those of the Scullin era, the stakes are no less high. Since taking office in May 2022, the Albanese government has seen a significant decline in its political standing. Let's explore the 3 key factors contributing to this shift: living standards, inflation, and the ongoing rental crisis. Australia has recently experienced the steepest decline in living standards among all countries in the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. Since peaking in the third quarter of 2021, real household disposable income per capita has fallen by 10.4%, the largest drop since records began in 1973. Excluding the pandemic's temporary economic boosts, living standards have declined by 2.4% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Independent economist Chris Richardson has pointed out that this decline is more severe than anything Australia has faced since 1959. While other OECD countries have seen a recovery after the pandemic's economic disruptions, Australia's living standards have remained stagnant in negative territory, further exacerbating public dissatisfaction. Inflation has also played a major role in eroding the Albanese government's popularity. Leaders across the Anglosphere, such as Britain's Rishi Sunak, the United States' Joe Biden, and New Zealand's Chris Hipkins, have all suffered politically due to inflationary pressures. Real wages in Australia have remained stagnant, sitting at roughly the same level as in 2010, despite temporary subsidies that helped lower headline inflation during the pandemic. Compared to other major economies, Australia's real wage trajectory since 2020 has been particularly poor, making it harder for everyday Australians to cope with rising costs. The rental market has emerged as one of the most pressing issues under Albanese's leadership. When Labor came to power in 2022, the national rental vacancy rate was already at a low 1.2%, half of what it had been in May 2019. Unfortunately, that figure has not improved, remaining at 1.2% today. Despite a slowdown in rental price growth, securing affordable housing remains a significant challenge for many Australians. The core issue lies in supply and demand. Since May 2022, the number of households has increased by 65,500, while only 55,000 new homes have been built, far short of meeting rising demand, let alone addressing the pre-existing housing shortage. Migration, although slowing, continues to add pressure to the market, and the construction sector has struggled to keep pace. Peter Dutton, who took over as Liberal leader from Scott Morrison in 2022, presents a unique challenge for Albanese. Known for his hardline stances, Dutton's leadership style has been consistent with his tenure as Home Affairs Minister. His controversial rhetoric, such as claiming that Victorians were too afraid to go out at night due to African gangs, and his strong support for deporting offenders, have polarized public opinion. Despite this, Dutton has managed to reshape the coalition's image and capitalize on Labour's struggles. Recent polling compiled by respected analyst Kevin Bonham shows the coalition leading narrowly, with 50.3% of the two-party preferred vote compared to Labour's 49.7%. Modelling conducted by Accent Research and Redbridge suggests a 98% likelihood that the next federal election will result in a minority government, with the coalition likely to secure the largest share of lower house seats in 82% of scenarios. Historically, first-term governments in Australia have weathered significant challenges and still managed to secure re-election. Gough Whitlam faced the 1973 oil crisis, Bob Hawke dealt with high unemployment during a recession, and Robert Menzies navigated inflation during the Korean War. All were re-elected despite the odds. Whether Anthony Albanese can achieve the same feat remains to be seen. While the challenges facing his government are substantial, it ultimately comes down to the voters. With the next election approaching, the Albanese government must address these pressing issues and rebuild its public standing to avoid joining the Scullin administration in the annals of first-term defeats. That's all for today's episode of Aussie Pulse. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.